If you're a fan of the new age NBA where post play is virtually non-existent and the goal is to go ISO ball, toss plenty of three-pointers and play some solid defense, this is the series you've been waiting for. When it comes to that style of play, the Jazz and Clippers do it as well if not better than anyone. Therefore, it's perhaps appropriate for these two forces to meet and decide which one is better equipped to take it to the next level and round. The Jazz are all about Donovan Mitchell on top of the key, trying to break down his man. Ditto for the Clippers and Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. In the event a double team arrives, each team has made a habit of finding the open man, who's almost exclusively standing behind the arc. And now you know why the Jazz and Clippers were among the very best and most reliant long-distance shooters in the league this season. It's easy to say the stars will decide the series, that usually happens this time of year. But don't be surprised if they cancel each other out and a member of the supporting cast makes a name for himself. This series begs for that opportunity for someone. Utah does have one advantage over the Clippers: Rudy Gobert. He's the rim protector who'll be on guard and on alert in case Kawhi decides to play bully ball, as is his pattern. The Clippers, meanwhile, boast a very solid perimeter defense, which will come in handy against the likes of Bojan Bogdanovich, Joe Ingles, Jordan Clarkson and the other wave of Jazz shooters. One of these teams is already battle-tested and bruised from the first round. The other is well-rested and mostly untested. Does that matter this time of year, or even in this series? Generally, no, at least not beyond Game 1. Also, neither of these teams own an NBA championship, and while this dubious distinction may go unchanged come July, one of them is guaranteed to take that dry spell into next season. So it's Jazz versus Clippers, a team that holds the No. 1 seed versus the team that probably believes it is the best in the West. Expect lots of Mitchell, George, Kawhi and shots from far away. These are virtual carbon copies competing against each other. May the best copy win. 3 Things to watch: Jazz point guard Mike Conley is dealing with a mild hamstring strain and isn't guaranteed to play Game 1. These injuries are tricky, so there's always the chance Conley could be limited by the injury. This would obviously be a setback for the Jazz. With the exception of Mitchell's ankle injury last month, they were among the healthiest contenders in the league. Speaking of point guards, who's carrying the load for the Clippers? Pat Beverly was a ghost in the first round. He dealt with injuries late in the season. Rajon Rondo wasn't playoff Rondo. Instead, the Clippers went heavily with Reggie Jackson, who had solid moments, with a bit of Terance Mann tossed in. When the season began, both players were barely in the rotation, but they both finished strong and earned their promotions.